Hey guys, welcome back today to another tutorial. So today we're going to be making this shirt dress. I kind of styled it in a way that is going to be different from the regular shirt dress that we know. It has a puff sleeve, which is also kimono. It has it's buttoned down, but I kind of designed the button down just so I don't have a button to go all the way down. And but the sides are also open. So if that's what you want to see in this video, then join me. Let's head straight to draft the pattern and also the sewing. So I have my basic bodies, front, bust line, waist length, hip line, hemline, and also the hemline, which is 49 inches because I'm actually very tall. So I'm going ahead now to extend my bust part measurement all the way down like this. I'm extending my bust apart measurement all the way to my hemline, okay? So I'll be using my ruler to join those dotted lines that I marked together like so. Please, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing, like this video, and share it to other platforms where it will be needed. So I'm opening my side bust dart, okay? I'm going ahead to open my side bust dart. And I haven't done that. From that very line, bust apart line, I'll be cutting this paper like so. From the very bust apart line that we ruled down, I'll be cutting this paper like so. Okay, from the very bust apart measurement. As you can see, I'm not taking off the dart. I'm cutting it also at the bust apart measurement like so. So I'll go ahead to close up the side bust dart like so. And I'll be using my tape to hold it down. So I'm closing up my side bust dart, and I'll be using my tape to hold it. As you can see, when I closed up the side bust dart, there is an opening. That opening is actually a flare. It's going to turn a flare. Okay. So I want to add more fullness. So I decided to also cut through this part. I didn't measure it, like half of it. Okay, I also decided to cut through this part. Getting to my bust point line, I opened like so. I'm going to be also opening. Depending on how much your fabric is, you can open as wide as you want. Remember, the wider you open, the more fuller and the more flare you're going to be having. I think the next one I'm going to be making the flare to be so voluminous, and I'll be adding crinoline to it. So you also should wait to see that very one. Also expect that very tutorial, okay? So I'm also opening this side. So I'm going ahead now to slash and spread all these things, and you see what it actually looks like. So as you can see, I've slashed and spreaded it. This is what it looks like. This is the kind of fullness I have because of the amount of fabric that I have. So going ahead to that same paper, for that curved sides where you'll be seeing my skirt by the side, so I'm going ahead now to mark 2 inches from my waistline, and also getting to the hemline, I used 10 inches. I actually noticed that this 10 inches is too much, so I will advise you use something that is actually smaller, like say 8 inches, or if you're on the big side, you can use 10 inches. But don't use anything more than 10 inches, 8 to 10 inches, okay? So I'll go ahead to roll this like so, and I'll be cutting this off. As you can see, I've cut off that side, and this is what we are having, okay? So also remember, now that I've cut off that side, also remember that I'm also, since it's a kimono, I'm also going to be attaching my sleeve like so. I'm going ahead to remove my front sleeve. I didn't remove that part while drafting the pattern, so it's nothing. I just had to remove it. So I'm going ahead to tape my sleeve down. Front sleeve to front bodies, please remember, front sleeve to front bodies. So I'm going ahead to tape my sleeve down like so. I'm actually very excited about this tutorial. Like I said, tell me in the comment section, the next one I'm going to be making, I'll be adding the crinoline to it. Like the flare is going to be voluminous. I'm actually going to get a whole lot of fabric. This one is just 2.5 fabric. So let's say the next one I probably might be getting 3.5 or 4, just so it'll be very voluminous. So remember the kimono, you want to align it to meet your waistline, and also the front, since we are going to be adding, since it's a button down, we'll be adding 2 inches to the center front while cutting on the pattern. So heading over to the back, I'm also going to be doing the same thing that I did to the front, extending my bust apart measurement all the way to the hemline, okay? So having done that now, I'm going to be cutting through also from that very bust apart measurement. I'm going to be cutting just like I did to the front up until my bust point for the back, and I'll go ahead to slant it that direction where I want to open. Okay, you're going to be cutting towards the direction where you want to open. And also I'm going ahead to cut also like center of that very part like we did to the front, because I also want to slash more. Okay, so I'm going ahead now to cut open like so, And also for the center, I'll go ahead also to cut it into two. There is no measurement for this. I'm just cutting it into two for more fullness, okay? And then I'll go ahead. Remember, the wider you spread, the more fullness you have. So I'm going to have to cut this on my fabric, and I'll be explaining some things. Because I want it to be a puff sleeve, I went ahead to add more fabric to the edge like so. As you can see, that very shoulder part, I added more fabric to it, and this is what it looks like. Also, the 2 inches for the button. So I decided to kind of add up things to it. I used this lace trimming to kind of make the design look good. I didn't want it to be plain, sort of. I felt if it's so plain, it's going to be looking very, I don't know. So I decided to use those things. So I'm going ahead now to sew up that 2 inches to form the very area where we are going to be adding our button. I'm not going to be adding a button. I'm not going to be adding buttons all the way down. Those dotted designs, I actually used it to cover up the button area, which I'm going to be showing you what I did in this video, okay? So I'm going ahead to sew down. So I've sewn the both of them down. I'll be leaving like 7 inches where I can put in my head to wear the dress, and the rest of it, I'll be sewing it all the way down, meaning is now like an artificial button. So we are going to be sewing all the way down, and the very part where we are supposed to put button were the parts where I added those dotted designs, those black dotted trimmings, okay? That was where I added them because I don't want to put button all the way down. It's actually very long. So since it's something that is free, I had to devise this means to do it. So I'm sewing it all the way down. You want to be very careful with this part so that you're not going to be having rough edges. I haven't even ironed this dress and it's looking very, okay. So you want to be careful while sewing it so that even without, it's not going to be giving you much stress when you're ironing, okay? Be sure you're sewing neatly and very much well. So I've gone ahead to sew this up, and I've left that part where it will enable me to wear it. So heading over to joining the back to the front, I'm going ahead to sew from the shoulder all the way down to the sleeve. Since it's a kimono, I'm going to be sewing all the way down like so. So I'm sewing from the shoulder all the way down. On this very particular side, you want to sew very well. Also considering your seam allowance. Kimonos always give problem if the fabric isn't stretching. So you want to consider your seam allowance and make sure everything is intact, okay? Kimono always tend to have, this kind of, you're not comfortable when the fabric is not stretchy. But if you do it right, you're going to be very much comfortable. So I'm matching things up to make sure that I'm in line, and I'm also going ahead to sew all the way down. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and share it to other platforms where it will be needed. Thank you, and I appreciate your effort. So having done that, I'm going to have to sew them all up like so, and I'm also going ahead to stitch up the sides of it, okay? I've marked that place, that 2-inch mark that is after my waistline, where I want the opening to start from. I actually marked it and I pinned it down. So I'm going ahead to sew now, like so. And when I stop at that point, I'm going to stop because that is where this very particular shirt dress is going to be stopping. The other place will be open. So I'm going ahead to sew that also on the other side. You want to make sure you mark that very part. I marked it on my fabric. So you want to make sure you mark it. Don't do guesswork. Use your tape, measure it and mark it. So like to come out very nice and beautiful. So I'm gonna have to sew this up also like so. And also heading over, as you can see those dotted designs I told you. So for the sleeve, I felt like it's going to be looking very small. So I decided to join more to it, to make the puff come out well. Okay, I decided to join more sleeve to it to make the puff come out well. Don't feel anyhow. This is also going to come out nice. Before you do yours, you can actually make the sleeve as voluminous. You can actually leave yours like that, but I just wanted to make my puff sleeve very voluminous and visible, as you can see. So that was why I decided to add more of this to it, add more of the fabric to it, okay? So I'm going ahead to join it. I'm joining that added fabric to it, okay? But I'll advise you make it as voluminous as you want while cutting, because this part can actually be very tricky. So I'm going ahead now to sew up for this very part. This is the band for the kimono. This is the band for the kimono. So I'm going ahead to measure my wrist, my elbow measurement, my round elbow, and where it stopped. And this is what I'm having for the band. So I'm going ahead now to gather that very particular puff sleeve area where we are going to be joining the band. I'm going ahead to gather it up like so. So I'm running a loose stitch with my sewing machine, and having run that loose stitch, I'll be pulling the thread. You just want to pull only one thread, okay? As you pull, you kind of gather it. Just one of the thread. As you pull, you gather it, okay? So if your sewing machine cannot run gathered stitch, you want to use your needle and thread and sew loosely, then you can pull and gather. So making sure that the center of my sleeve band aligns with the center of the puff sleeve. You will join those centers together and you're going to be sewing from there. Also making sure that the side, that's the side sleeve, also aligns with the side sleeve of the puff. So just so you get everything accurately, okay? Make sure that everything aligns just so it looks good and everything is accurate and nice. So I'm going ahead to stitch this all the way down like so. I'm going ahead to stitch this all the way around the sleeves. So I'm stitching this all the way around, and I haven't done that. These are what it looks like. So for the collar, for a two-piece collar, I'm going to be dropping the video, or the link to the video where I've drafted a two-piece collar. So these are for the collar, the two-piece collar. So I'm going ahead to stitch up. As you can see, this is the very top, the first collar. I don't know, the first layer of the collar, yes. Not the one that the button is on it. The very top collar. I don't know what they call it. So the very top collar, this is it. So you sew that one first, making sure that your center notches align. Everything you have to mark your notches so that you're in line with what you're doing. So making sure your center notches align, you're going to be sewing up like so. And I haven't done that. I'm also going ahead to make sure my center is intact, and I'm opening it up and using this kind of pointed edge, not something very sharp, to turn it over like so. So I haven't done that. I'm going to have to give this a nice press, and I'll be using the other collar also to match it center to center, and I'll be sewing all the way down like so, okay? Using the other collar, I'm going ahead to match it center to center, and I'll be sewing all the way down like so. So I'll be sewing this also all the way down like so. So this is what it looks like, and I'm going ahead now to attach it to my shirt, making sure that the back center aligns with the center of that very collar. My center back aligns with the center of the collar because we're starting to sew from center back all the way to the front, as you can see. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm sewing all the way to the front, and I'll go ahead to sew up also the other side of it, okay? So going ahead to sew up the other side of it. This is what I'm coming up with. I'm going ahead now to sew the other side of it like so. So I haven't done that. I'll go ahead to stitch up this very particular side first, like we did in our collar for the, I know there's one tutorial we did something like this. So I'm going ahead to stitch up for this first, and turning this over, this is what we're having. And I'll go ahead also to stitch up for this very particular area first. And I haven't done that. This is what we came up with. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.